Dr. Julian Grant had always been known as the leading cardiologist in the small town of Maplewood. His practice, Grant Heart Care, had been established over a decade ago, and over the years he'd become a respected member of both the medical community and his local area. His clients trusted him, the medical board praised him, and his practice flourished. But what Dr. Grant didn't foresee was how quickly that could change when a few bad online posts started to take root. It all began on a quiet Thursday morning. Dr. Grant had just finished a routine checkup on a patient named Emma Wells, a 42-year-old mother of two. Emma had been experiencing some mild chest pain for the past few months, and after a series of tests, Dr. Grant had prescribed a new medication to address the issue. Emma had been relieved when Dr. Grant told her that the condition wasn't life-threatening, but some lifestyle changes and the medication should help. At first, everything seemed fine. However, just a few days later, Emma posted a scathing review of Dr. Grant's practice on a popular health forum. The post was brief but damning. "I went to Dr. Julian Grant for chest pain and he just pushed medication without really listening to me. I felt like just another number. I wouldn't trust this guy with my health. Find someone who actually cares." At the time, Dr. Grant didn't think much of it. Negative reviews were a part of every business, and he'd always responded to them professionally. But this one was different. It wasn't just an isolated review, it quickly caught the attention of others. Over the next few days, a few more negative posts appeared. One woman claimed that Dr. Grant had misdiagnosed her husband, resulting in unnecessary heart surgery. Another post criticized the wait times at his practice, despite the fact that Dr. Grant's office had always been known for punctuality. Then someone posted an accusation that Dr. Grant had been dismissive and rude during their consultation, something that was completely out of character for him. But it didn't stop there. As the posts spread, Dr. Grant's once pristine reputation began to crack. The reviews were shared on Facebook, Twitter, and even on Yelp, gaining traction far beyond Maplewood. The power of social media had turned a few isolated complaints into a tidal wave of negativity. The posts started to be linked in blogs and websites that reviewed doctors in the area, and soon Dr. Grant's name was synonymous with bad reviews. Patients began cancelling their appointments. Some didn't even give a reason, while others mentioned the negative reviews they'd read online. It wasn't long before the phone calls stopped coming altogether. In the age of the internet, one disgruntled voice could multiply exponentially, and Dr. Grant was finding that out the hard way. The tipping point came when a local news outlet picked up the story. They ran a piece on the dangers of online reviews, featuring Dr. Grant's practice as a case study. The article painted Dr. Grant in an even worse light, drawing attention to the accusations of negligence and poor care, even though the facts had been distorted. Dr. Grant tried to defend himself by issuing a public statement, but the damage had already been done. The more he defended his practice, the more the online mob grew. Dr. Grant, once a confident and respected professional, found himself questioning everything. He'd always prided himself on his patient relationships. He remembered every detail about his patients' lives, from their favorite sports teams to their children's names. But suddenly his career was spiraling out of control, and he had no idea how to stop it. At night he lay awake, haunted by the thought that his life's work was being destroyed by a few malicious posts. His wife Rachel tried to comfort him, but she could see the toll it was taking. His once busy clinic now stood almost empty, and the steady stream of income that had allowed their family to live comfortably was drying up. Their savings, once plentiful, began to shrink as Dr. Grant tried to fight the storm with legal action and counter-complaints. But no matter how many times he asked his lawyer to send a cease-and-desist letter, the posts kept coming. It was clear that someone, whether it was Emma Wells or an anonymous troll, was intent on bringing him down. After weeks of frustration, Dr. Grant decided to take a different approach. Rather than fighting fire with fire, he realized he needed to reconnect with his patients in a more personal way. So he began to engage with them directly, not through formal statements or legal actions, but through authentic, heartfelt communication. He started by personally reaching out to Emma Wells, the woman who had started the initial thread. He called her up, apologized for her experience, and explained that he had always tried to be as thorough as possible with his patients. He offered to meet with her to discuss her concerns in person, and after some back and forth, she agreed. Dr. Grant also reached out to several of his longtime patients, asking them to share their experiences and write reviews of their own. Slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. Positive reviews started to trickle in, balancing out the negative ones. People who had once been wary of him started to give him a second chance after seeing his genuine efforts to improve. But it wasn't just about the reviews anymore. Dr. Grant started sharing more about his personal life and his values on social media. He posted stories about his dedication to his patients, his ongoing education, and his love for Maplewood. His community began to see him not as a faceless doctor, but as a human being who cared deeply about his work. Months went by and Dr. Grant's reputation slowly recovered. While the damage was still visible, it was no longer as devastating. His new approach had not only won back old patients, but had also helped him attract new ones who respected his openness and willingness to improve. The key to his recovery wasn't just addressing the negative online posts, but also regaining the trust of his community in a way that wasn't centered around defending himself. By the time the next annual health survey came around, Dr. Grant had regained his place as one of the most respected cardiologists in Maplewood. He had weathered the storm of online reputation damage and emerged stronger, more empathetic, more connected to his patients, and most importantly, more aware of how fragile a doctor's reputation can be in the age of the internet. Though he knew he could never completely escape the online negativity, Dr. Grant understood that the road to redemption wasn't just about fighting back. It was about rebuilding trust, one patient at a time.